Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex. And on my regular account, not my free-to-play account, I was going to make a video today about Mystique. I just spoiled the video. But anyways, I was going to make a video solo about Mystique because I got her potential one day after I got her to level 60, just 2 world boss fights in. So I was going to waste, spend my feathers so that they didn't hit the cap. And I was going to build up to level 70 in a video, build up some of her gears, build up some of her Uru and Odin's Blessing, give her a CTP of Rage, and just do some content there, like some world boss, yada, yada, yada. But I've been reading comments, I read all the comments, but recently I've been reading this comment repeatedly where you guys really enjoy the videos and you get much more of a kick out of it when I'm enjoying the video. And obviously, I've been frustrated with Marvel Future Fight, but there are still moments of discovery, moments of exploration, moments of challenge where I find the fun in the game again. And this is definitely one of them. So I wanted to feature this for you. It is talking about ABX, which I know you guys don't like this game mode, yada, yada, yada. But there actually is a really nice, sort of combination of things going on, both, I think, intentional and accidental, and it creates this sort of diamond in the rough. So just to give you a really brief overview of her build, I went for a CTP of Rage, so we capped out her dodge. You don't need to cap out her crit rate because of her buffs. And then we got her a little bit of crit damage. We're almost capped, but not quite on the cooldown and the ignore defense. This still needs work. She basically needs a lot of Odin's Blessings to be perfectly capped and like very, very high end for content. I mean, if you want to push like ABX and stuff like that, because she doesn't have a uniform. And we gave her a CTP of Rage with high dodge, low crit rate, because again, she doesn't need the crit rate. All of her ISOs on the chaotic side have dodge there to help that out as well. But this run is actually made possible with the combination of Dr. Octopus, Mystique, and Baron Zemo. And this is something in ABX that I think reflects and shows the potential for Marvel Future Fight to be such a fun game if they tap into the fact that there is a 200 plus character roster and we have this gigantic unused glossary of terms, right? You have all these freaking skills and you're not using any of them for anything. So what am I talking about? Not too many updates ago, they changed the Frost Beast and they added a roar. So the Frost Beast does an uninterruptible roar and he adds a damage reduction. The damage reduction makes you do less damage, which means your score drops. But players in ABX want to do the most damage to get the highest score because it's a competitive game mode and the point is to get the highest score. It's an arcade game mode. So what did players figure out how to do? They figured out that you can silence the Frost Beast. Now, whether this is intentional or accidental, we don't know, and that is the frustrating part for players. Not only is the silence inconsistent, but the lack of communication from the devs is also inconsistent because players don't know, am I practicing this skill? Am I practicing to silence the Frost Beast? And this is going to be a skill that I am going to use for months or years. This is like going to serve me well. Or am I just going to wake up one day and there's going to be a patch in a couple months and the devs are going to say, fixed a bug where you could silence the Frost Beast? We don't know, right? But in the meantime, I tip my hat, hats off to those players who are figuring these stuff out and making these builds because it actually can be really fun if this is something that interests you. Now, basically, here's the crazy thing. So nothing else works on the Frost Beast to interrupt the roar. Charm doesn't work, mind control, time freeze, bind, snare, stun. None of that stuff works. Entice, charm, nothing. You know what does work? Like I said, silence. And you know who has silence on his third skill? Yeah, Baron freaking Zemo. So, although Dr. Octopus has a uniform and awaken skill, although Mystique is a crystal cost character that has crazy stats and all defense down and all these buffs and an awaken skill, yada, 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 it's actually Baron Zemo that makes this combo work. And it is hilarious and it's actually really fun. So I was practicing this. There's actually a mistake in what I'm about to do, and I'm going to tell you before I show you what the mistake is so that I want to see if you can figure it out, okay? So you're going to try to look for something that I'm doing wrong or look for something that's kind of out of place, so to speak. So this is actually the team up. Now, if I had Mystique awakened, it would be sort of, switch to Dr. Octopus, use his awaken skill, deal damage, switch to Mystique, do damage, do her awaken skill, and then switch back and forth. And then at the specific intervals where the beast roars, you switch to Baron Zemo and you do the silence. And if you get it right, your score will jump massively. Like a player who cannot get this down packed and who cannot master the skill, maybe they'll score like 1.5 million. Just to put this into context, a player that gets it right could score 3 million or more. So you can double your score or more just by mastering this ability. So that to me is a really crucial and really fun thing to explore. Now, yes, the rewards are trash, I know. But on the flip side, you have a situation where players are being rewarded for their skill. And that is super important because we really lack that in Marvel Future Fight. We really lack being rewarded for our efforts. And so I wanted to highlight this not only to show you guys that there's value in characters like Baron Zemo, which I never thought I would actually say, but also because it's actually really fun to pull off when you can actually pull it off. So here we've done Dr. Octopus's Awaken skill twice now. We do most of the damage with him because he's built up, of course, and because he has his Awakened ability. Here we're going to swap to Baron Zemo. We're going to wait until the last second, and then we're going to silence. Okay, we missed the silence there, and he got the roar off, but that's okay. We're going to swap over to Mystique. We would have not wanted him to miss the roar, obviously, but, you know, it is what it is. And then we're going to swap back here, and then we're going to do this again. And so this is basically what the combination looks like. Now, when I swapped to Mystique and I just did some of her skills, obviously, if I had her Awakened ability, I would have done that instead. So just imagine, you know, I had done way more damage. You had seen Magneto, you had seen Nightcrawler, and then my score, instead of being 1 million, would be like 1.5 million right now. So there is a huge opportunity for the devs, if they realize that this is something that players want, and if they realize that this is actually a really fun part of their game, they can actually set this up in other game modes, or in ABX, it doesn't really matter where specifically, but just somewhere in the game, where you have these windows of opportunity. Here we have another one. There, okay, I was slow again on the uptake. I really got to practice more. I keep missing the moment where I'm supposed to silence him. It's at 115, and then the last one's at 37 seconds. So we're gonna see if we can get the last one, so I can show you guys what it looks like. But basically, you know what? Actually, it's good that we didn't press the third skill. Okay, we actually we screwed up, but it was actually a blessing in disguise, interestingly enough. And we just screwed it up again. Okay, we got guard broken there. That was awesome. So anyways, it's a perfect opportunity if the devs, you know, ever capitalize on the massive potential of this game. So here we're going to try to silence him there. Okay, we missed it a third time. So we actually didn't get any silences. I'll run a clip now and show you guys when I actually did succeed in doing it. This was an earlier take that I was doing and recording, but the run itself was much, much worse than this one, which is why I did a second take. But anyways, you switch now to Baron Zemo briefly, and right after he hits you, you want to hit him and silence him. There you go. We silenced him, and no roar. We did it. You see that? Isn't that something? So it's really cool there. Baron Zemo comes in and silences the Frost Beast. If you blinked, you missed it. And in doing so, he provides Dr. Octopus and Mystique with a situation in which they can... okay, my Awakening skill just got canceled. So this is actually a horrible, horrible run, but it is still illustrating... God, it's such a bad run. But essentially, imagine... Just take ABX, for example. Say the rewards are better. But imagine you have a fight that lasts 3 minutes, or however long this lasts, or however long whatever fight it is lasts. And within the fight, you have opportunities, you know, brief windows of time. You know, let's say 5 seconds. You know, the boss will be rendered vulnerable if you hit the boss with a fear attack, specifically. No other type of attack or no other sort of debuff will render the boss vulnerable. You know, hit the boss with a stun now, and then you hit the boss with a stun. If you played like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, it's kind of like that. And that would create a situation, right? They're already creating a situation, whether it's intentional or accidental, where things like, in this case, silence, are actually contributing in a large way. You know, Mystique and Dr. Octopus are amazing characters, and if you invest in them, you can get a really high score. But without Baron Zemo's silence, your score is going to be really held back. So think about that. If they can unlock, you know, the value of these weaker characters without necessarily having to rework them, just changing and sort of modifying the way in which they interact with the boss, right? Not every character is going to be Jean Grey. Sure, I understand that. But why not make these characters valuable in these ways? You know, make characters that have bleed. Okay, bleed. If you bleed the boss 5 times, hit the boss with 5 bleed skills in the next 10 seconds, and the boss will lose 20% of their health. Or whatever, or they'll have a permanent 20% movement speed decrease for the rest of the fight. And then for the rest of the fight, you know, Proxima's all hobbled, and she's sort of walking at half speed, and she's, you know, way easier to dodge, or you know, Black Dwarf, or whatever. So there's so much opportunity, and there's so much potential for this, but I still like the fact that Baron Zemo is sort of having, you know, an increase in his value due to this specifically. Now, you can definitely look at this in a much more cynical way and say that, hey Alex, in the last 2 updates, they've introduced multiple characters here for ABX specifically, and they've tried to milk players. So they introduced Baron Zemo as a paywall. They introduced Dr. Octopus's uniform to sell the crystals, and then if players didn't have a chance to awaken him, now they have to use Mandalay fragments, so they're screwed on that, and then they have to do it again for Mystique. So yeah, you can definitely see this as like an ultra milking scenario, but on the other hand, I'm looking on the bright side and saying, man, I had no use for Baron Zemo before. Now Baron Zemo has a legitimate role on my roster once every 2 weeks. It's not much, but it's definitely better than nothing. It's definitely better than Blade, who has 0 use on my roster 100% of the time. You know, you take what you kind of got to take what you can get. You fight the battles, you know, that you have a chance of winning. So hopefully the devs will see this, and hopefully the devs will consider doing this more in other game modes and having those sort of windows of opportunity to do specific types of skills. You know, a skill that stuns, a skill that bleeds, a skill that binds, a skill that snares, a skill that silences, or whatever. And then that will make characters more powerful, because, you know, Jean Grey doesn't have that many effects on her skills, so she's gonna need a certain leadership or a certain support in order to switch over and do that. And in Marvel Future Fight, in every game mode, you're always bringing 3 characters, but for most game modes, you switch once to switch off your leadership to your DPS, and then you never switch again. Or you only switch if you're like in an emergency mode and you're about to die, but then you're just like stalling to switch back to that character, right? What if you actually had to meaningfully switch at specific times to get specific, you know, results? Now, I asked you when I jumped into ABX to look and see if you could notice what was wrong. Now, I missed all 3 of the silences, despite the fact that Baron Zemo has silence on his 3rd skill. And if you go and look in the skill preview, you see it right away. I mean, he silences right at the beginning of the skill. What's going on? Right there, boom. You see it's huge. The silence is the easiest skill effect to see, because it gives you the little pop-up with the comic blurb, and it says ... right, in black and white. You can also see the purple one, but it's much smaller. So what's going on? Why didn't I silence him? I mean, out of 4 tries, you saw that clip that I ran, out of 4 tries, I only got 1 silence. Well, here's what it is. If you didn't guess what it was, if you go over to the extreme mode, you can see the intel says the Frost Beast in this stage has high evasion. So the boss has evasion. Now, Baron Zemo doesn't need ignore dodge. Well, maybe he does need ignore dodge, but he needs to be tier 2. Yeah, he needs to be tier 2, because at tier 1 he's probably getting an accuracy penalty, the way that a tier 1 character, when they're attacking a tier 2 character, is going to miss a lot more often. So I think what I'm trying to say is I need to take my Baron Zemo to tier 2 in order to get this content done, and in order to, you know, get a higher score. Now, you might just say, whatever, it doesn't matter, ABX is not that important. It's important for my alliance, but, you know, if this sort of content is actually rewarded, if players are actually being rewarded for pushing their score, and they're getting, you know, accurate and adequate compensation for doing these things, then you will have a reason to tier 2 these characters. You will have a reason to build them up. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty exciting. I thought it was pretty fun. I'm going to spend some more time off stream. I'm probably going to tier 2 my Baron Zemo, because I did build up a nice, you know, stockpile of his bios from the bio subscription that I purchased 2 updates ago in order to unlock him, and then I just kept selecting him for the next 25 days after I used a mega rank up ticket on him. I never had another reason to bring him to tier 2, so I didn't, but now I do. So I think I'm going to, specifically for ABX. I'll keep you guys posted and keep you guys updated. My alliance members tell me that it's very easy to get the silence to happen, and I got it to happen the very first time, and then I kept missing over and over again. So I was really confused, and I was like, there's something I'm missing. There's no way. Is it like the positioning? Do I have to be in front of the Frost Beast? So I actually switched to Baron Zemo, and I was playing around, and I was just constantly trying to use his 3rd skill, and it was constantly not silencing. So I was like, there's something else going on. And then I realized, bro, he's tier 1. He's definitely got, you know, the dodge, whatever the Frost Beast dodge, it's probably doubled or tripled because he's tier 1. So anywho, let me know if you guessed that accurately or not. Let me know what your ideas were. Let me know what you think of Baron Zemo actually mattering, actually being as valuable as Mystique and Dr. Octopus on this team. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.